There comes a time not marked by calendars, nor signaled by stars, when a silent shift stirs within the soul. A moment not heralded by thunder, but by stillness. And in that stillness you begin to feel it, the soft dissolving of all you thought you were, and the quiet emergence of all you have always been. It is not a becoming, it is an unveiling, a homecoming not to a place, but to presence, not to a destination, but to the divine. You were never just a wave passing briefly through time. You were always the sea itself, vast, formless, eternal, momentarily dancing in form. Yet you've been taught otherwise. You've been taught that you are separate, that you are small, that your life is a random spark flickering alone in the darkness. But that is not truth. That is only the voice of forgetting. And forgetting is not failure, it is the beginning of awakening. The drop does not cease to be the ocean because it forgets. It simply floats, unaware of its vastness. And you, dear soul, have floated long enough in forgetfulness. The time has come to remember not with your mind, but with your being. You were not born into this world as a blank slate. You arrived as a sacred echo of the infinite. The same intelligence that breathes galaxies into being whispered you into existence. Not by accident, not as an experiment, but as a divine expression. You are not here to find God. You are here to remember that you are made of the same divine fabric. The essence that moves the stars is the essence that pulses through your veins. The rhythm of the cosmos is not around you, it is within you. You are not just in the universe is in you. When Rumi said, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop," he was not offering a metaphor. He was revealing a truth so pure, so uncontainable, that it bypasses the intellect and speaks directly to the soul. You are the ocean, the boundless field of awareness, of love, of intelligence momentarily appearing as a human form. Not to suffer, not to strive, but to remember, to awaken within the illusion. To rise like mist from a still lake and say, "I remember who I am." And who you are is not the story you've been told. You are not your wounds. You are not your triumphs. You are not your fears, nor your titles, nor your achievements. You are not even the thoughts that pass through your mind. You are the witness behind it all, the presence watching the play unfold, not the character lost within it. The ego says, "I am this body, this name, this history." The soul whispers, "I am." No adjectives, no justifications, no masks, just pure, unchanging being. And when you touch that place within, when you sit in silence long enough to hear that whisper, you begin to live not from effort, but from essence. Not from the striving of the ego, but from the stillness of the soul. You no longer chase love, you become it. You no longer search for peace, you are the space that holds all storms. You no longer fear death, for how can the ocean fear the drying of a single wave? There is nothing to prove, nothing to fix, nothing to earn. Because you, beloved, are already whole, already divine, already free. Freedom is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of truth. And the truth is this: you are the entire sky, not the passing clouds. You are the light that reveals, not the shadows that come and go. You are the silence between sounds, the space between thoughts, the love beneath all fear. When you awaken to this, the world does not change, but your seeing of it does. And that changes everything. You walk lighter, not because the path is easier, but because you are no longer carrying the burden of false identity. You speak softer, not because you are less sure, but because truth needs no defense. You love more freely, not because you are seeking, but because you are overflowing. This is not a concept to be learned. It is a presence to be lived. And it begins now, not tomorrow, not when you're healed, not when life is perfect, but now, in this breath, in this still moment. Close your eyes not to escape, but to enter the sanctuary that has always waited for you. Within you is a cathedral untouched by time, a temple built not of stone, but of stillness. And there in the center burns an eternal flame. It does not flicker. It does not fade. It simply waits for you to remember. You are not a seeker of light. You are the light through which seeking happens. You are not lost. You are the presence that notices the feeling of being lost. You are not broken. You are the vast space within which brokenness appears and dissolves. Let that in, not as an idea, but as a recognition. Let it settle into your bones. Let it echo through your breath. You were never meant to be a product of the world's expectations. You were meant to be a revelation of the infinite. And this life, it is not a test. It is not a competition. It is a dance, a sacred rhythm, a movement of form within formlessness, of time within timelessness. Dance it well, not by performing, but by presence. Speak not to impress, but to express the love that flows freely when you are no longer trying to be someone. Move not to arrive, but to awaken. And love not as a transaction, but as a natural emanation of who you are when you remember. You are the ocean in a drop, a holy fragment of the whole. And the moment you stop striving to be more, you realize you already are everything. So breathe, let go, not of your responsibilities, but of your resistance, not of your dreams, but of your doubt, not of your life, but of the false self that thinks it is separate. The path forward is not about gaining, but about shedding, not about becoming, but about being, not about improving yourself, but about revealing yourself. The self that cannot be harmed, cannot be diminished, cannot be lost because it was never born, and it will never die. It simply is, and so are you. Allow the river of truth to run freely through the cracks of your old self-concept. Allow the walls built from years of fear and pretending to soften, to fall, to dissolve. For there is nothing left to protect when you are willing to be what you already are, unarmored, unmasked, unafraid. The soul does not clench, it opens. And in this opening, miracles are not created, they are remembered. What if nothing about you needed validation? What if your worth was not something to be proven, but something to be lived? What if your very presence was a prayer answered not by words, but by existence itself? The oak does not ask to be admired in order to grow tall. It simply rises, inch by sacred inch, because that is what it was made to do. And you too were made to rise not through force, but through your own divine rhythm, not faster than others, not louder, just truer. The mind wants maps, but the soul navigates by feeling. It doesn't shout directions, it hums frequencies. You feel them in your chest when you are near something real. You feel them in your belly when life whispers, "This way, beloved." But to hear these whispers, you must quiet the noise of who you've been told to be. The world will beg you to be consistent with your past. But the truth is, you are not your past. You are the awareness in which that past unfolded. You are the space between each chapter, the blank page from which infinite stories can emerge. Freedom is not about escaping the page. It's about realizing you are the author. And when you realize this, you begin to see pain differently. Not as punishment, not as proof of failure, but as purification. Pain clears the canvas. It unroots the illusions. It invites you into deeper presence, deeper surrender, deeper truth. There is a sacred intelligence behind it all, a force not of cruelty, but of correction. A wisdom that loves you enough to strip away what you do not need, so you can remember what you always were. Like fire refining gold, your life is not here to burn you. It is here to burn away everything you are not. This is not suffering. This is sacred alchemy. You are not being broken. You are being broken open. And in that opening, grace rushes in. Not the grace you earn by being good enough, but the grace that has always circled you, waiting for a single breath of surrender, a single moment of stillness, a single step inward. So breathe. Let go of the image. Let go of the effort to hold it all together. You were not created to be a statue. You were created to be a river alive, moving, ever unfolding. And rivers do not apologize for their flow. They do not resent the rocks, they bless them for shaping the music of their current. Let your life be music. Let every wound be a note, every tear a sacred rhythm, every silence a holy pause. And from the symphony of being, may you come to see that your very existence is art. Not art to be critiqued, but art to be honored. You are the canvas and the brush, the stillness and the storm, the question and the answer, the drop and the entire ocean. And once you feel this, not understand, not analyze, but feel, you will begin to live with a reverence that needs no religion, a devotion that needs no dogma, a holiness that requires no sanctuary, because it is felt in every footstep, every gaze, every breath. This is the revolution, not out there, but in here, not loud, but luminous, not against the world, but deeply, intimately with it. For to be one with the ocean is not to leave the shore, it is to remember that the shore was never separate to begin with. You have always belonged. You are not a visitor in this life. You are the life. You are the presence through which the ocean sings, through which the wind prays, through which the stars whisper ancient lullabies of remembrance. And you, yes, you are the only one who can awaken to this truth in your own heart. No teacher can give it to you. No book can contain it. It is yours to feel, to embody, to live. So live it, not tomorrow. Not when it feels safe. Not when the world understands. Live it now. Because this moment, this sacred, ordinary, extraordinary now, is the only doorway to eternity you will ever need. And it stands open, waiting, as it always has. Do not mistake the stillness for emptiness. What feels like nothing is often the beginning of everything. It is in the silence between thoughts that the voice of the soul is most clearly heard. It speaks not in sentences, but in vibrations, not in conclusions, but in clarity. And clarity is not certainty, it is presence. It is the knowing that you are here, and that here is enough. It is the dissolving of the illusion that you must chase meaning, when meaning is simply the full embrace of what is. There is no need to rush. The sky does not hurry to become the night. It simply fades gracefully into the next expression of its being. And you too are allowed to unfold, slowly, softly, without explanation. The flower does not bloom to be seen, it blooms because it is its nature to do so. And you, sacred soul, are not here to prove anything to the world. You are here to reveal what has always been within you. Each breath you take is evidence that you are already aligned with life. You do not need to strive for connection, you are connection. The same life force that opens the petals of spring flows through your chest. The same intelligence that paints sunsets stirs behind your eyes. And so, there is nothing you need to become, only more of what you are needs to be revealed. Peel back the layers gently. You do not need to rip off the masks. They will fall when they are no longer held by fear. You do not need to attack your ego. It is not the enemy, it is the child within, trying to keep you safe with old tools. Love it, hold it, then choose differently. Choose presence, choose truth. Choose to live from the soul, not the script. And what is the soul but the space that remains when all effort ceases? The quiet awareness that watches the rise and fall of all emotion without needing to name it good or bad. The deep stillness that is not disturbed by chaos because it does not identify with form. The soul is the space through which all experiences pass, but none stick. It welcomes joy and sorrow alike, knowing that both are guests, not owners. You are that space. And the moment you begin to live from that place, the illusion of separation fades. You look into another's eyes and see not a stranger, but another drop of the same ocean. You listen not to respond, but to feel. You speak not to be heard, but to express the rhythm of truth rising from within. This is love, not the grasping kind, not the conditional kind, but the expansive kind. The love that does not say, I love you because, but simply says, I am love. You were made of this. Not metaphorically, but essentially, the very fabric of your being is woven from the same thread as every sunrise, every tide, every heartbeat of this universe. How can you doubt your worth then? How can you diminish what was born from stars and sung into form by the breath of the divine? You are not here to fit in. You are here to expand, to remember, to illuminate the corners of this world with your presence, not your performance. And so, the world does not need more polished versions of conditioned people. It needs awakened souls, present souls, souls who walk lightly, love fiercely, and speak truth gently, not to convince, not to convert, but to be, to stand like mountains quiet, unmoving, sacred, to flow like rivers unforced, unapologetic, free, to burn like stars not with noise but with light. This is your nature. And nature does not argue with itself. It simply is. The tree does not envy the wind. The moon does not compete with the Sunday all expressions of the divine, honor their own rhythm. So must you. There is no single path to walk. There is only alignment with yourself, with source, with the moment. And the moment, this eternal now, is your sanctuary. You will not find the divine in memories or projections, only in presence. Let your life become a devotion to the now. Let your breath become your prayer. Let your being be the sermon. And watch as the world responds not to your effort, but to your alignment. Because when you stop trying to force outcomes and start radiating your essence, life meets you with the same frequency. This is not magic, it is remembrance. You are not the seeker. You are the light being sought. And now, beloved soul, you begin to shine not from striving, but from surrender. You see, the world has mistaken noise for power. It shouts to be heard. It accumulates to feel valuable. It moves frantically, believing motion equals meaning. But you are here to remember a quieter truth. That power is not volume. Power is presence. And the most potent force in all creation is the one that moves without needing to be seen, the soul aligned with itself. Presence does not perform. It permeates. When you walk into a room with a heart at peace, you shift its frequency not by what you say, but by who you are. This is not charisma. This is clarity. A clarity that arises when all pretending stops and you return to the simple sacred truth, I am. That is the whole sentence. Not I am enough. Not I am worthy. Those are still comparisons, still echoes of an ego that doubts. No pure, undiluted I am. Being itself. The awareness that notices every label but wears none. The ocean that welcomes every wave without becoming any one of them. This is what the sages knew, what the mystics tasted, what Jesus meant when he said, the kingdom of God is within you, what the Tao whispers when it says, the way that can be spoken is not the eternal way. They were not speaking of dogmas, they were pointing to the eternal presence within all things, the same presence that lives and breathes and expands within you. But how easily it is forgotten, how quickly the ego, that well-meaning imposter, wraps you again in its costumes. I am my job, I am my past, I am my fears, I am my body. And yet beneath all that dressing is the naked truth, the holy presence, the eternal now. What if today you stopped trying to improve yourself and simply allowed yourself? What if healing wasn't about becoming more, but remembering you already are? True transformation doesn't come through striving, it comes through shedding. You do not ascend by adding more. You rise by releasing. Releasing the weight of expectation, the tension of pretending, the burden of trying to be what you're not. In that release, you float. Not because the water's changed, but because you no longer fight them. This is grace. Grace is not a reward for the righteous. It is the natural current of life that carries you when you stop paddling upstream. Let it carry you now. Let go of the shore you've clung to, the shore of needing to be understood, the shore of needing to control, the shore of needing to earn love. You will not drown in surrender. You will be carried home. And home is not a location. It is a realization, a return to the space within where nothing is lacking, nothing is broken, and nothing is missing. The soul does not ask for more. It asks for truth. And the truth is, you were never a drop needing to find the ocean. You are the ocean, dancing momentarily in the form of a drop. The stars do not wonder if they belong in the sky. The sun does not question if it is worthy to shine. They do not ask, am I enough? Because they know they are not separate from the source, and neither are you. It is only the veil of thought, the fog of identity, that says otherwise. But every fog lifts, every illusion eventually dissolves in the light of awareness. And now, that light is dawning in you. Not a blinding light, a gentle one. Like morning sun warming closed eyelids. Like a remembered song you haven't heard since childhood. A feeling not of newness, but of return. And as this light grows, the questions fade. Not because they are answered, but because they are no longer needed. The need to understand is replaced by the peace of experiencing. The hunger for direction is quieted by the trust in being guided. You are not navigating life alone. Life is navigating through you. You are not steering the ship, you are the sea itself, carrying all ships to their destined shores. So trust. Trust not in outcomes, but in essence. Trust not in the plan, but in the presence that is always with you, even in the unknowing, especially in the unknowing. For the unknown is not a threat, it is the womb of creation. And within it, all things are possible. Then let us move further inward, into the hush of the infinite within you, where the path forward is not drawn with lines, but with light. You see, the soul is never in a hurry. It knows that eternity is not bound by time. It has no fear of missing out, for it knows nothing can truly be missed when all things that are meant for you are carried by the same intelligence that carved the canyons, ripened the fruit, and brought you here. This breath is not late. This moment is not lacking. This version of you, exactly as you are unscripted, unguarded, is not an error to correct, but a miracle to behold. You've spent lifetimes trying to become more, never realizing the divinity of simply being. The world conditioned you to strive, to compare, to measure your worth in numbers and applause. But the soul does not thrive in measurement. It thrives in meaning. And meaning is not found in the height of your achievements, but in the depth of your awareness. Can you be aware right now of what is? Not what should be, not what was, just what is. The way the breath moves in and out of your body like a tide that has never stopped kissing the shore. The way the heartbeat drums its steady rhythm without needing permission. The way your presence, your very being, ripples silently into the world, changing everything without trying. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. You are not the flicker of doubt. You are the flame that keeps burning anyway. You are not the weight you carry. You are the space that has always carried you. This is not poetry. This is not comfort. This is truth, the kind that softens the hardest places in you, not with logic, but with light. And light does not rush in. It waits for you to open. So open, not because you've figured everything out, not because life has become easy. Open because something in you remembers the sacred rhythm, the original pulse, the eternal hum of being that needs no reason to exist. You are that hum. You are that pulse. And when you live from this knowing, you don't need to find your purpose because you become the purpose. You walk through the world not as someone seeking approval, but as a silent blessing. Not needing to explain, not needing to defend, just being anchored, vast, holy. Let others race. Let others reach. You, beloved, are being called to root into presence, to root into silence, to root into the awareness that you lack nothing. For what you truly are can never be added to or taken from. It cannot be broken, lost, or diminished. It is not affected by circumstances. It is not defined by past pain. It is untouched, untainted, unshakable. And this awareness, this untouched self, has waited patiently behind every thought you've ever had. It watched as you tried to earn your way into love, not realizing you are love. It waited as you wore every mask they handed you, not realizing your naked soul was already radiant. And it wept with you, not out of sorrow, but out of recognition. Because even in your darkest moments, it saw the light you couldn't yet see. It never left you. It never judged you. It only waited for your return. And now you are returning, not to a version of yourself, but to the formless self that was never born and will never die, the self that simply is. And in this return, everything shifts. The way you see others, not as threats, but as mirrors. The way you meet challenge, not with fear, but with stillness. The way you give love, not as a transaction, but as a transmission. You begin to live without resistance. You stop trying to mold life into your shape and instead allow life to mold you into truth. This is surrender, not defeat, but union. Not collapse, but expansion. You become the ocean again. You become the wave again. And the drop disappears into its source. But it is not lost. It is fulfilled. You have traveled not across lands, but through layers. Not to gain something new, but to shed what never belonged. And now here you are at the still point, the inner hush, where truth no longer needs to be spoken, for it has been felt. There is a peace here, isn't there? Not the peace that comes from escape, but the peace that comes from embrace. It is not found in a distant paradise, but in the willingness to be fully present, fully alive, fully you. And now, you see what you always suspected beneath the noise, that you were never broken, never separate, never late, that every step, every fall, every forgetting was held in the arms of something vast and unseen and deeply loving. You are not your mistakes. You are the witness who grew from them. You are not your pain. You are the vast space in which pain was felt, honored, and finally released. You are not even your name. You are the nameless, the breath of the eternal moving through form for a moment, and then returning home. And home is not a place. It is the realization that you have never left, that what you seek has always been within the seeker, that the drop never left the ocean, it simply forgot it was water. And now that forgetting has ended, the remembering has begun. Walk from this place not with certainty, but with trust. Not with answers, but with alignment. Speak not with urgency, but with reverence. Love not with conditions, but with completeness. You are not here to chase light. You are here to be the light. Not someday. Now, not after awakening, but as awakening. Every smile you share, every silence you honor, every truth you live ripples. It touches unseen shores. It awakens something ancient in others. Not because you tried, but because you remembered. This is the quiet revolution. Not a fight, a flowering, not an effort, a return. A return to essence, a return to source, a return to the ocean of your own infinite being. So go, beloved. Go not in haste, but in wholeness. Go as the ocean goes, without apology, without force. And wherever you go, go knowing this: you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. And now you remember, and now you are free. There is a whisper within you, ancient and unyielding, that speaks not of what you desire, but of who you are. And it is here, in the quiet folds of your being, that your life is shaped not by your longings, but by your essence, not by the noise of your wanting, but by the silent frequency of your being. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. This is not a poetic phrase meant to soothe your mind. It is a law, just as real as gravity, just as unbending as time. The universe is not listening to the frantic cry of your wishes. It is echoing back the vibration of your soul. Every thought you nurture, every belief you cradle, every emotion you allow to steep in your being, these are the architects of your reality. Wanting by its nature affirms lack. It says, I do not yet have. It declares to the universe, I am separate from what I seek. And the universe, ever honest, ever faithful, replies, as you believe, so shall it be. So it is not the wanting that manifests, it is the being. To attract love, become love. To attract peace, embody peace. To attract abundance, dwell in the consciousness of enough. You see, energy is not fooled by words. It hears only the song of your soul, and the soul cannot fake its note. It can only sing what it knows. So if you live in the vibration of unworthiness, all the affirmations in the world will not convince the universe otherwise. You will only attract mirrors of your own self-doubt. But if you root yourself in your divine nature, if you remember that you are not a fragment searching for its whole, but the whole remembering it was never broken, then you begin to draw into your life not what your ego demands, but what your spirit naturally harmonizes with. This is the invitation, not to plead with life for scraps of joy, but to step into the field where joy already exists. Not to reach outward for validation, but to drop inward into the wellspring of self-knowing. Because the more you become who you truly are, the more the universe has no choice but to reflect that truth back to you. This is why your inner work is sacred. It is not self-indulgence to heal. It is not weakness to weep. It is not a detour to be still. Every time you release a false belief, you raise your frequency. Every time you forgive, you clear space for miracles. Every time you honor your truth, you align with the divine blueprint etched into the marrow of your being. And when you align, you attract. You attract not by force, but by resonance. Not by manipulation, but by surrender. Not by proving yourself worthy, but by knowing you already are. Consider the ocean. It does not chase rivers. It allows rivers to come. Why? Because it is vast. It is still. It knows its own depth. Be like that. Be the ocean. Let your depth attract what is true. Let your stillness draw in what is real. Let your presence do the work. Do not waste your sacred energy trying to magnetize that which your soul does not even want. The ego says, I need this to feel whole. The soul says, I am whole, and from that wholeness I allow. This is not passivity, this is power. The kind of power that cannot be taken or shaken, because it rises from the eternal self, not the image, not the persona, not the story, but the essence. And your essence is divine. You were never meant to beg life for blessings. You were meant to embody them. To radiate so purely, so authentically, so unapologetically, that life meets you not with resistance, but with recognition. The world bends to the truth of being, not to the desperation of seeking. So let go of the chase, let go of the striving, let go of the exhausting belief that you must earn what your soul already knows belongs to you. Become it, not in pretense, but in presence. Become the love, become the joy, become the serenity. Because once you become, you begin to attract, not because you're reaching, but because you're resonating. Not because you force the outcome, but because you've aligned with the source. And the source is always responding to who you are, not to who you pretend to be, not to who you hope to become, but to who you are being now. So be still and know that your vibration speaks louder than your voice. Your frequency precedes your footsteps. Your energy introduces you before your name ever does. And if that energy is grounded in truth, if it is rooted in the deep remembrance that you are already connected, already worthy, already divine, then what you attract will not be what you want, but what you are. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And what you are is more than bone and breath, more than memory or momentum. You are a silent flame, an echo of eternity wrapped in flesh. Your every thought is a prayer. Your every emotion, a vibration. Your every belief, a compass that charts the unseen waters of your becoming. The life you experience is not happening to you, it is unfolding through you, in harmony with the music you hum in the still chambers of your consciousness. So ask yourself now, not with judgment, but with deep reverence, what song am I singing? What unseen anthem echoes in the walls of my being? For it is that melody, that tone of your soul, that magnetizes the shape of your world. You cannot hide from this truth. You may silence your voice to fit in, you may contort your essence to be accepted, you may disguise your pain behind painted smiles, but the universe listens not to surface. It listens to source. It listens to the silent honesty vibrating beneath your skin, and it echoes back in the language of circumstance and synchronicity. So when you feel resistance in your outer world, pause. Do not blame, do not run. Instead, turn inward and ask with gentle courage, where am I resisting within? Because life is not against you. It never has been. It is your greatest ally in self-revelation. It will disturb every illusion, challenge every mask, and dismantle every lie that stands between you and your divine identity. You are not here to fix a broken world. You are here to remember a whole self. And the more you remember, the more life becomes a mirror polished with clarity. You begin to see that people do not give you love or take it away, they reflect your own permission to receive it. Money does not come through force, it flows through the channels carved by your belief in worthiness. Peace is not found at the top of the mountain, it is uncovered in the stillness of your breath, in the spaciousness between your thoughts. This is why you attract what you are, because what you are is the vibration that gives form to the formless. It is the sculptor behind the clay. It is the light that shapes the shadows. You are not a victim of randomness. You are a creator in remembrance. But oh, how gentle we must be in this remembering, because the ego will rebel. It will shout, but I've suffered, I've been hurt, I've been abandoned. Yes, dear one, you have. But those experiences were not punishments, they were calls. Sacred invitations to transmute pain into presence, wounds into wisdom, and separation into surrender. You are not here to win love, you are here to become love. Not as an idea, not as a performance, but as your very state of being. A state so steady, so unwavering, that even the storms of life bow before your peace. This peace is not passive. It is fierce in its quiet. It is radical in its refusal to betray its essence. It does not depend on approval, nor does it bend to fear. It simply is like the sun that rises without asking for permission, like the stars that shine without apology. And when you live from this place, everything changes, not because the world becomes different, but because your perception aligns with truth. And in that alignment, life meets you not as a battlefield, but as a dance floor. You begin to move with it, not against it. You begin to flow, not to fight. You stop searching for miracles and become one. So let the ego rest now. Let it lay down its endless striving. Let it dissolve in the light of awareness that says, you are already home. Because home is not a destination, it is a state of being. And that being is you, when you are no longer trying to be anything else. The journey is not one of addition, it is one of subtraction, of letting go, of releasing all that is not truly yours, every inherited belief, every internalized fear, every borrowed identity, until what remains is the raw, radiant truth of your essence, untouched, untamed, unshakable. This is the energy that magnetizes, not because it tries, but because it is. And being, dear soul, being is the most powerful force in the universe. To attract what you are, you must become intimately familiar with yourself, not the self the world demanded, shaped, or edited, but the self that whispers in moments of solitude. The self that knows peace not as a reward, but as its natural state. The self that feels like exhaling after lifetimes of holding your breath. That self does not wear armor. It does not perform. It simply exists, like the tree that does not try to be the forest, yet is one with it. You were taught to strive, to do more, be more, achieve more, as if your value were some distant summit you could climb. But value cannot be accumulated. It is not in the hands you shake or the applause you gather. It is not bestowed by status, nor can it be diminished by failure. Value is inherent, sacred, irrevocable. And when you live from this knowing, you begin to emit a frequency so aligned, so resonant, that life begins to organize itself around your essence. Not because you demanded it, because you embodied it. This is the holy reversal, where longing gives way to allowing, where effort melts into presence. And presence is the magnet, the open field, the sacred yes. Presence does not pull things toward it. It draws them in through the sheer gravity of authenticity. Because nothing is more attractive to life than someone who is fully alive in their truth. Do you see now why the outside cannot fulfill what the inside denies? Why your efforts to manipulate, chase, or control often leave you emptier than when you began? It is not because you are broken. It is because you are misaligned. You are reaching outward when the real work is inward. So pause, breathe. Place your awareness not on what is missing, but on what is present. On the heartbeat that has not asked you for permission to keep you alive. On the breath that has flowed through you since the moment you arrived here without a single instruction from your mind. These are not just biological functions, they are whispers of grace. Reminders that life supports you when you stop resisting it. You don't need to become worthy of your desires. You need only to become honest about what you are truly aligned with. Because alignment is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the silent handshake between your spirit and the rhythm of life. And when you are aligned, you no longer beg for miracles. You expect them not as entitlement, but as a natural outcome of being rooted in truth. But be mindful. Alignment is not an aesthetic. It is not found in curated quotes or the posture of spirituality. It is raw, real, sometimes uncomfortable. It demands that you choose integrity over image, depth over appearance, presence over performance. It is the quiet decision to listen when your soul whispers no, even when the world shouts yes. And it is in these quiet decisions that your power returns. Not power over others, not power to manipulate outcomes, but the power to live in freedom unhooked from external conditions, undisturbed by passing judgments, unafraid of silence. From this inner sanctuary you attract not through effort but through energy, not through tactics but through trust. You trust that who you are, when revealed without distortion, is already enough to call in what is meant for you. And what is meant for you does not need to be chased. It recognizes you by your light. It feels you in your stillness. It finds you when you are no longer trying to be found. You were not put on this earth to hustle your way into love or claw your way into abundance. You were placed here to remember that your very being is an invitation, a beacon, a homecoming for all things resonant with your truth. So let go of the need to prove. Let go of the strategy of becoming someone else. Let go of the mask you wear to feel safe, to be accepted, to seem successful. You are not the mask. You are the light behind it. You are not the voice that doubts you, are the silence that observes. And from that silence, you attract. The one who attracts is the one who has nothing to prove, because they are no longer trying to get anything. They are simply allowing what matches their truth to arrive, and it will, because the universe is not deaf to your essence. It is responding always, not to your begging, not to your pretending, but to your being. And your being, when aligned, is the most powerful magnet there is. What you are is not something you invent. It is something you uncover. Like a sculptor chiseling away the excess stone to reveal the form that was always there. Your task is not to create yourself, but to remember yourself. And in that remembrance, in that sacred unveiling, you begin to radiate a signal so pure that only truth can respond. It is not what you think you are that shapes your life. It is what you embody beneath those thoughts. You may affirm love with your lips, but if your heart beats with self-rejection, life cannot be deceived. You may visualize abundance, but if your inner landscape is soaked in scarcity, the universe will honor the frequency, not the image. You may hope for peace, but if you carry war in your chest, your world will reflect the battlefield. Because this universe, this sacred intelligence that spins stars and orchestrates seasons, it does not speak English or Spanish or Sanskrit, it speaks vibration. And your vibration is the truth of your being, undressed from the layers of performance. It is your essence, humming in the silence between your words, glowing in the choices you make when no one is watching. So if you want to change what you attract, change what you are being. Not by striving, not by building a more appealing version of yourself, but by softening into what's already true. By listening, by surrendering, by daring to trust the part of you that remembers God not as a being, but as a state of being. This is not a concept, this is a lived truth. And the more you live it, the more life aligns, not because you've conquered anything, but because you've finally stopped resisting who you are. What is resistance? Truly, but a refusal to be, a refusal to trust. Every time you force, every time you manipulate, every time you try to become something more, you are telling the universe, I am not enough. And the universe, ever faithful, echoes back, as you believe, so shall it be. But when you release that grip, when you soften the mind's tight fist and allow your soul to lead, something shifts. You begin to experience life not as a struggle, but as a flow. You stop chasing and start magnetizing. You stop planning and start allowing. You stop surviving and start living. And that is the key, to live from being, not from lack. Lack is a shadow. It is born of forgetting. It cannot be filled with things, or people, or achievements. It can only be healed by remembrance. Remember who you are beneath the noise, beneath the identity, beneath the mask. You are not what the world has labeled you. You are not your roles, your traumas, your achievements, or your failures. You are awareness. You are presence. You are the unchanging witness behind the ever-changing experience. And the more you root in that awareness, the more your energy begins to purify. You attract what is aligned, not what is urgent. You magnetize what resonates, not what your ego has demanded. Because the soul is not interested in accumulation, it is interested in resonance, in truth, in harmony. And harmony does not require effort, it requires alignment. Look at the Sunday, it does not force the flowers to bloom. It simply shines and the world responds. Be like that. Shine without apology. Radiate your truth without performance. Be still, be open, be real, and life will meet you not with resistance, but with reverence. Let yourself become the kind of presence that transforms the atmosphere, the kind of stillness that soothes chaos without needing to speak, the kind of being that reminds others of their own light simply by walking in yours. For the world does not need more performers, it needs more remembers, more souls who have awakened to the sacredness of simply being, more lives that echo the quiet truth. I am already whole. And from wholeness, you attract not what you want, but what you are. You don't need to convince the stream to flow downhill. It obeys a deeper law. In the same way, you need not strain to become magnetic to what is sacred, meaningful, and real. You need only surrender to the law of alignment of being, of presence, of authenticity. The effort is not in achieving, but in allowing yourself to be fully where you are, as you are, with no masks to impress and no costumes to maintain. There is a holy dignity in simply standing still, in choosing not to run from discomfort, not to escape into fantasy, not to dress up pain and productivity, but to feel, to stay, to breathe. In this sacred pause, something profound is born, clarity. And clarity is the mother of all true attraction. When your inner waters are still, you see the reflection of truth. And from that seeing, your life reshapes itself, not by force, but by fidelity to your essence. You cannot receive what you are unwilling to become. Not in theory, but in frequency. You may desire love, but if you shrink from vulnerability, love has no home to enter. You may yearn for purpose, but if you betray your intuition to follow convenience, your purpose cannot rise. Life responds not to longing, but to readiness, and readiness is not a product of preparation, but of surrender. And surrender is not defeat. It is the softening that precedes revelation. It is the moment when you no longer grip the reins of control, but open your palms to the mystery of becoming. It is here that grace floods in, not because you earned it, but because you made space for it. Because you emptied yourself of the noise long enough for truth to echo through your being. Understand this: life does not delay its blessings. It waits for your resonance, not as a test, but as a mirror. It waits for the day you no longer beg to be chosen because you have chosen yourself. It waits for the moment you no longer hustle for love because you have become it. Not the transactional kind, not the kind that needs to be seen, shared, or praised, but the kind that radiates from your chest in silence and feeds the roots of all things. This is how you become a sanctuary, not a seeker of safety, but the very space in which others remember their own. You become a reminder, a presence, a living truth. And from this place, the world begins to respond differently, not because it changed, but because your lens cleared. You stop reading your past into your future. You stop writing pain into your identity. You begin to see that everything that once hurt you was not a punishment. It was a purification, a breaking of the shell that once kept your light contained. And now that light no longer hides. It no longer apologizes. It no longer waits. It simply shines, not with effort, with inevitability. And that inevitability, that ease, that grace is what attracts. Because truth, when embodied, is irresistible. Not in a way that craves attention, but in a way that alters atmospheres. So let go of needing the world to change. Let go of rearranging the external to soothe the internal. Instead, become the ground beneath your feet, the stillness within your storm, the depth beneath your name. And from that depth, speak only what is real. Move only when it feels aligned. Choose only what whispers yes from within. For this is how you attract, not by wishing, not by forcing, but by becoming undeniable in your truth. The world taught you to chase, to grasp, to compete. It whispered through 1,000 voices, you are not enough, until you're loved, until you're seen, until you've done more, proved more, gained more. But each of those untils is a mirage, a moving target that keeps you running from the one place where transformation actually occurs, within. You don't attract what you want because want is a language of distance. It says that which I desire is somewhere out there beyond me. But the soul doesn't speak in distances. It speaks in echoes. It calls in what matches its tone, not by the loudness of desire, but by the clarity of frequency. So what is the tone of your soul? Beneath the surface wants, beneath the surface fears, what do you vibrate as when all the noise dissolves? Not the curated identity, not the inherited persona, but the raw, original note of your being. That note is the magnet. That note is the oracle, and it cannot lie. There is no convincing the universe of something you yourself doubt. No vision board can overwrite your vibration. No affirmation can override the undertone of your self-concept. Life is not responding to your hopes. It is responding to your home frequency. And that frequency is shaped not by what you claim, but by what you allow. What do you allow yourself to believe about your worth? What do you allow yourself to receive without guilt? What do you allow yourself to embody without explanation? These are the questions that recalibrate your life. To attract something new, you must release the gravitational pull of what is familiar but false. You must let go of the identities built from survival identities that served a purpose once but now keep you small. The identity of the unlovable, the unlucky, the unseen, the undeserving. These are not truths. They are echoes. And you are not here to echo what is broken. You are here to become the voice of what is whole. And wholeness does not announce itself with trumpets. It doesn't need to. It walks softly, speaks slowly, loves deeply. It does not argue. It does not perform. It does not seek attention. It commands it through presence alone. This is the paradox. The moment you no longer need it, it arrives. The moment you stop chasing love, it appears not because you gave up, but because you made space. The moment you stop forcing success, fulfillment unfolds, not because you abandoned the dream, but because you return to the dreamer. You are the dreamer, the weaver, the vibration that shapes form, and form will never rise above the frequency that calls it forth. That is why inner work is not luxury, it is law. The law of resonance, the law of being. So if your life does not yet reflect your highest truth, do not ask, what do I need to fix? Ask, what do I need to remember? What part of me has forgotten its light? What wound have I mistaken for a fact? What story am I still rehearsing that no longer serves my expansion? Because you don't attract with words. You attract with clarity, with congruence, with unwavering presence, and presence is cultivated not by doing more, but by being here, fully, now, with your breath, with your body, with the quiet aliveness that exists beneath the thinking mind. From that place, even the air feels different. Even silence begins to sing. Even the unknown feels like home. And that, dear soul, is the frequency of true attraction. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is not a definition. It is not a summary of roles, wounds, or wishes. It is not a caption, a title, or a story recited until it becomes a cage. What you are is presence. Living, breathing, timeless presence. You are not becoming divine, you are the divine, momentarily wrapped in skin, pretending to forget so that you might remember again with awe. And now you are remembering that nothing outside of you grants you wholeness, not the love you long for, not the success you strive for, not the recognition you crave. They may arrive, yes. They may grace your path like sacred visitors, lighting candles along the way, but they are not the flame. You are. You are the source of what you seek. And when you dwell in that remembrance, when you stand rooted in your own sacred sufficiency, your entire vibration shifts. You no longer send out signals of scarcity. You no longer attract what validates your wounds. You begin to draw toward you the mirrors of your own healed frequency. Not because you chanted the right words, not because you manifested the perfect script, but because you remembered who you are before the forgetting began. And who you are is love informed. You are stillness that speaks. You are light that listens. You are wholeness wrapped in human breath. So walk now with reverence, not for the path ahead, but for the presence within. You need not sprint. You need not prove. You only need to be so utterly honest with yourself that even the wind pauses to listen. Let your life become less of a performance and more of a prayer. Let your choices emerge not from urgency, but from inner alignment. Let your dreams rise not from fear, but from faith. Faith in the truth that you are already connected, already worthy, already free. You are not here to attract through force. You are here to resonate with what is real. And the most real thing you will ever know is the stillness within you, the part that has never been hurt, never been lost, never needed fixing. That place is your home frequency. That place is the seed of all creation. Nurture it, tend to it, trust it, and watch as your life unfolds, not from striving, but from sacred coherence. This is not magic. It is law, the law of vibration, the law of resonance, the law that says you do not become by chasing, you become by allowing what you've always been to rise. So take one last breath with me now. Feel it not as an end, but as a beginning. The beginning of a life lived from truth, from presence, from deep abiding wholeness. You are no longer seeking. You are no longer chasing. You are remembering, and in that remembrance you are attracting not what you want, but what you are. And what you are is enough. It always was. It always will be. Now walk the world not to find, but to radiate. And let the world respond to you.